Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Skura, also known as Islands in Front, and I am now preparing for Popagan Leko. Now, my weapon of choice is most likely going to be Mono Blue Fairies, a deck with which I top 4 the previous game and have become the national champion with. And today I want to watch a replay of a game I played and analyze my decisions that I made throughout. If you want more content, more very advanced content, in-depth content, visit my Patreon down below. There will be much more content coming in the upcoming weeks because of my preparation period. Now I look at this hand, we're on the play against an unknown, it's a league. And so I see turn 1 Seer, turn 2 Hacker, pick up Seer, replay Seer, and then we're just pre-set up from there. So naturally, that's a keep for me. So this is the easy decision, naturally. But now we play Seer, and the first real decision, right? So that's Island, and that's Hacker. So again, I encourage you to think about your own decisions while we do this. Now, my thought process is, 1, I really want an additional land because the spells are irrelevant if you don't have any way to actually play. So the third land is actually really good. The second Hacker, well, if it was a Ninja of Deep Hours, I think I might bottom it because of the intensity of mana. However, Hacker is really, really cheap. So for example, on the second turn, I can go Hacker, pick up Seer, replace Seer. On the third turn, I can go Hacker, hold up Spell Starter, for example. So it perfectly matches. Also, depending on what the opponent does, having that Hacker means that in combat I can switch out Hacker for Hacker and still protect it with Spell Starter Sprite. So for me, it is top. Now, the order of these doesn't really matter because your turn 2 is really scripted because it's either land Hacker, which you already have, or hold up a counter spell, which you already have. So you can easily go top. It doesn't matter what order that it's in. I see Perilous Landscape, so I immediately think Skred, although it could be some other decks, but I'm immediately thinking Skred. I'm happy to be on the play, and I draw that land, I play a land, we go to the attacks, we put in the Hacker, we draw a card, that's great. Now the top is cleared off, right? We don't know any cards. We deploy the Seer, and let's see what's there. Counterspell Hacker. And I think that's really tricky. So now you can think of what you would do. What I did, and what I would have done again, is definitely bottom the counterspell for the same reason I would have bottomed Ninja of Deep Hours. We don't have the throughput to actually be able to play all those spells that we would like to. We already have 2 drops with 2-3 mana in play. A third one, that's 6 mana total, that's a lot, and I don't need that. So I'm definitely bottoming counterspell. What about the Hacker, right? So let's map out the turns. I expect my opponent to start interacting with us starting turn 2 onwards, right? So Hacker might actually be pretty decent. Now, I would like possibly a 4th land in the near future. So all in all, I could see either bottom both or bottom counterspell keep Hacker, but definitely not keep both. So the opponent finds Mountain, so I expect something to get killed. They actually play Augur of Bolas, so that's something that people are really scared of in this matchup because Hacker never gets through, right? Well, let's see about that. They find Lightning Bolt, so that seems like the worst possible thing for us. I did keep the Hacker because of the ability to just switch cards around. And now we can go into combat. We attack with just the Seer, actually. And we can very easily Hacker that in, draw a card, and now what do we do now? We hold up Counterspell, we deploy creatures. And so there are 2 lines. Because the only thing that we're really scared of is Breath Weapon, right? They do play it main deck. However, if we pass back and they cantrip a bunch and pass back, we actually have no attacks. We just have no attacks, right? And so the passing of the turn, while it's nice to protect against Breath Weapon is kind of irrelevant because we don't have a board to begin with, kind of, right? This doesn't accomplish anything. And for those reasons, I do play creatures out. Now I see off one mind Dispel. That's another really key point. So we could, if you go top, and then you play another Seer, you kind of wasted a Scry because you would keep both on top. You can keep both on top but not play the Seer. You can also keep one of them but not the other. Now, what I did, and I think is correct, is to go off one mind on top and dispel just beneath and still deploy the creature. So that's to maximize the turn fully. Now, accepting the breath weapon possibility, because again, a 1/1 Seer doesn't accomplish much, and while next turn we can go hacker it in, we're in a very similar spot because we have barely any attacks on the ground, although 3 hackers is much better. So I definitely go top, play another Seer. Again, consciously saying, I'm not playing around breath weapon. And so right now, we pass back. Opponent brainstorms, which is perfectly fine with us. They kill a creature on the ground, which is fine. It would have had to suicide attack anyways. And this is where we are at. So, again, another decision, really important one. We can go island and just attack for 2 and pass, holding up double interaction. We can go off one mind, Harker, hold up interaction, right? So, in these types of spots, I start with off one mind because I want to really take this 1-mana draw 2 at the rate I have it. And I draw double Dispel now. I knew of 1 Dispel, right? Because we put it on top, which already insulates us against a potential breath weapon. So now there was just 1 window, and now the window is closed. So what we could do, for example, is land, attack, hacker, and keep up the 2 mana for double Dispel. Or we could just play land and be really protected with counter plus Dispel, attack for just 2 this turn, and then unload on the following turns. And so we go to attacks, and I still switch it out because I think that double Dispel is more than enough. They don't have any sorcery speed removal. Creatures are irrelevant against flyers, so we can very easily do that. Now, another spot. Do you play the Seer? Because you could follow up the previous logic with the fact that they don't have the breath weapon and just go Seer. You can split the difference and go Seer, hold up Dispel for a potential breath weapon anyways, right? So what I did is just pass back with double Dispel, thinking I've got an okay position right now. Although I think adding 1 Seer is also perfectly fine. Now, Augur of Bolas is on the stack, and I reach out for my 2 mana, but I do not, this is already used, I do not spell stutter, sadly, but I counter spell. So spell stutter would have been awesome in this position, but if I get bolted or scredded, it's really painful, and I will have almost nothing. So I opt to go for the counter spell. Although I could see a situation where you just don't do anything, but then you're wasting your mana, which is also pretty bad. Now I deploy Fairy Seer, with an intention not to attack with any hackers, just the Seer. And in this position, again, what would you do? I go bottom, because we need more action. We need more ninjas to convert the flyers and to get more damage in. So we go bottom, I just attack for 1. And I pass back. I skipped through, but I held up double interaction. Now, I attack for 2, bringing the opponent down to 10. And with so many cards in play, in hand, I feel super safe. Now, I add to the board upon counter spells, which I sense is a meaningful weakness. Right? It's a meaningful weakness. So I sense the opponent is really scared, and I'm fine with that. I'm not forcing a 1/1 through. This spell is way too precious, I believe. So, opponents adds 4 mana, and that's the worst possible case scenario for us, because they deploy Murmuring Mystic, for which we have no answer, right? Now, looking at the length of this video, you can probably see that the game is not over just yet. So what's the plan? Well, I need to go wide, right? I need to go wide and just circumvent those creatures somehow. And so I add Spell Starter to the board. I hold up the intruder for the combat to save one creature one time. I go to the attacks. I attack just in the air for 3, but actually 4 with the ninja. Just bring the opponent down and go wide, so maybe I can alpha strike once. Or maybe have like a couple of, suicide attacks or chump attacks. So I draw with the ninja, I draw another land, which is perfectly fine by me, and now I can play Miscreant because I mainly fear Breath Weapon, but I have got double Dispel, so that's all good. And if they just go cantrip, 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 I barely can do anything about this anyways. And again, the main plan is to go wide, because otherwise the opponent has got the advantage and the long game, which we want to avoid. So they play a land, they pass back. I'm still holding the intruder, as you can see, right? Still holding it for the 1 combat. Now, off 1 mind goes on the stack, which is 1 mana. They counterspell, and now, super efficiently, we can dispel back. And let's see what we draw. We draw land ninja. So now I'm thinking, well, maybe I can do 2 attacks, like all in, and that could get the job done. So attack with all. They perform some blocks, although they keep switching it out because they want to make the best blocks possible, and they land on these blocks. Now I happily play ninja on an unblocked creature. See what they do about this. And I can still intruder and still have dispel up. Again, capitalizing on the efficiency. Now, there are a couple of things you could do. So if you make the bird illusion smaller, the outcome is that your circuit survives, but they actually maintain the number of creatures on the board, which I want to decrease, actually. So I want to trade here. Well, actually, now thinking about this, if I make this smaller, my hacker survives, but then here dies. So it's probably just a wash, actually. Depending on whether you want to then to keep a creature or for us to keep a creature. So now we pass back, and we see if they have a cantrip chain or not. And they go for breath weapon, and then we go for that held dispel from previous turns, and that is the game for us. So had we pulled the trigger on that counterspell countering Fairy Miscreant, we would not be able to dispel that, and that would probably spell a loss for us. But that, thankfully, it did not. So let me know what you think of this game and of this game analysis, and I will be happy to bring more content like this, especially replay of your games. If you sign up for Patreon, you can send me your games, and I will happily review them and post them and give you proper feedback and commentary on my part. And with that, as I said, I invite you to my Patreon, to my public, free Fae Discord. All the links in the description. And as always, I've been Skura, Islands in Front. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheers.